class, it's Miss Huddleston. So the last we left off in Wonder, Via, was telling us about being in high school and about what it's like to be August's big sister. Now we know that she's not necessarily as warm to being his sister anymore as she was in the past. She's a little more hesitant. I think it's because they're both growing up. So let's see what happens more with Via. This next chapter is called Major Tom. Out of the three of us, Miranda had almost always been the sweetest to August, her friend Miranda, hugging him and playing with him long after Ella and I had moved on to playing something else. Even as we got older, Miranda always made sure to try to include August in our conversations. Ask him how he was doing, talk to him about Avatar or Star Wars or Bone or something that she knew that he liked. It was Miranda who had given Augie the astronaut helmet he wore practically every day of the year when he was 5 or 6. She would call him Major Tom, and they would sing Space Oddity by David Bowie together. It was their little thing. They knew all the words and would blast it on the iPod and sing the song out loud. Since Miranda's always been really good about calling us as soon as she got home from summer camp, I was a little surprised when I didn't hear from her. I even texted her and she didn't reply. I figured maybe she had ended up staying in the camp longer now that she was a counselor. Then I realized from her Facebook wall that she'd actually been back home for a full 2 weeks. So I sent her a message and we chatted a bit online, but she didn't give me a reason for not calling, which I thought was weird. Miranda had always been a little flaky, so I figured that's all it was. We made plans to meet downtown, but then I had to cancel because we were driving out to visit Tata and Papa for the weekend. So I ended up not seeing either Miranda or Ella until the first day of school, and I have to admit, I was shocked. Miranda looked so different. Her hair was cut in this super cute short haircut that she had dyed bright pink, of all things. And she was wearing a striped top that seemed way inappropriate for school and was totally not her usual style. Miranda had always been such a very particular person about clothes, and here she was all pink-haired and wearing something I would never see her wear. But it wasn't just the way she looked that was different. She was acting differently too. I can't say she wasn't nice because she was, but she seemed like she didn't want me to be there, and it was the weirdest thing in the world. At lunch, the three of us sat together like we always used to, but everything had shifted. It was obvious to me that Ella and Miranda had gotten together a few times during the summer without me, though they never actually said that. I pretended not to be upset while we talked, though I could feel my face getting hot and my smile was kind of fake. Although Ella wasn't as over the top as Miranda, I noticed a change in her style too. I felt a lump in my throat throughout lunch, and my voice quivered as I said, "See you later," when the bell rang. Man, it seems like her relationship with her friends wasn't what it was before. "I hear we're driving you home today." It was Miranda in 8th period. She had just sat down at the desk right behind me. I had forgotten that Mom had called Miranda's mother the night before to ask if she could drive me home from school. "You don't have to," I answered. "My mom can pick me up." I thought she had to pick Augie up or something. It turns out she can pick me up afterwards. She just texts me. It's not a problem. "Oh, okay. Thanks." It was all a lie on my part, but I couldn't see sitting in a car with the new Miranda. After school, I ducked into a restroom to avoid bumping into Miranda's other mother outside. Half an hour later, I walked out of the school, ran the 3 blocks to the bus stop, hopped on the bus to Central Park West, and took the subway home. "Hey there, sweetie," Mom said the moment I stepped through the front door. "How was your first day?" I was starting to wonder where you guys were. "We stopped for pizza." Incredible how easily a lie can slip through your lips. Ooh, I don't like that she's lying to her mom. "Is Miranda not with you?" She seemed surprised that Miranda wasn't right behind me. "She went straight home. We have a lot of homework." "On your first day?" "Yes, on our first day," I yelled, which completely surprised Mom. But before she could say anything, I said, "School's fine. It's really big, though. The kids seem nice." I wanted to give her enough information so she wouldn't feel the need to ask me anymore. "How was Augie's first day of school?" Mom hesitated, her eyebrows still high up on her forehead from when I'd snapped at her a second earlier. "Okay," she said slowly, like she was letting out a breath. "What do you mean, okay?" I said. "Was it good or bad?" He said it was good. "So why do you think it wasn't good?" I asked. "I didn't say it wasn't good. Geez, Via, what's up with you?" Just forget I asked anything at all, I answered, and I stormed dramatically into Augie's room and slammed the door. He was on his PlayStation and didn't even look up. I hated how zombified his video games made him. Sounds like some little kids I know when they play video games. So how was school? I said, scooching Daisy over so I could sit on his bed next to him. Fine, he answered, still not looking up from his game. Augie, I'm talking to you. I pulled the PlayStation out of his hands. Hey, he said angrily. How was school? I said fine, he yelled back, grabbing the PlayStation controller back from me. Were people nice to you? Yes. No one was mean? He put down the PlayStation controller and looked up at me as if I just asked the dumbest question in the world. Why would people be mean? He said. It was the first time in his life that I heard him be sarcastic like that, and I didn't think that he had it in him. I'm not sure at what point that night, but Augie had cut off his Padawan braid, or why that made me really mad. I had always found his obsession with everything Star Wars kind of geeky, and that braid in the back of his hair with his little beads was just awful. But he had always been so proud of it, of how long it took him to grow it, of how he had chosen the beads himself in a craft store. He and Christopher, his best friends, used to play with lightsabers and Star Wars stuff whenever they got together, and they had both started growing their braids at the same time. When August cut his braid off that night, without an explanation, without telling me beforehand, which was surprising, or without even calling Christopher, I was just so upset I can't even explain why. I've seen Augie brushing his hair in the bathroom mirror. He meticulously tries to get every hair in place. He tilts his head to look at himself from different angles, like there's some magic perspective inside the mirror that could change the dimensions of his face. Mom knocked on my door after dinner. She looked tired, and I realized that between me and Augie, today had been a tough day for her too. So you want to tell me what's up? She asked nicely and softly. Not now, okay? I answered. I was reading. I was tired. Maybe later I'd be up to telling her about Miranda, but not now. I'll check in on you before you go to bed, she said, and then she came over and kissed me on the top of my head. Can Daisy sleep with me tonight? Sure, I'll bring her in later. Don't forget to come back, I said as she left. I promise. But Mom didn't come back that night. Dad did. He told me Augie had had a bad first day and Mom was helping him through it. He asked me how my day had gone and I told him fine. He said he didn't believe me for a second and I told him Miranda and Ella were acting, like jerks. That's not a very nice thing to say. I didn't mention how I took the subway home by myself though. He said nothing tests friendships like high school and then proceeded to poke fun at the fact that I was reading War and Peace. Not real fun, of course, since I'd heard him brag to people that he had a 15-year-old who was reading Tolstoy. But he liked to rib me about where I was in the book, in a war part or a peace part, and if there was anything in there about Napoleon's days as a hip-hop dancer. It was silly stuff, but Dad always managed to make everyone laugh. And sometimes, that's all you need to feel better. Don't be mad at Mom, he said as he bent down to give me a goodnight kiss. You know how much she worries about Augie. I know, I acknowledged. Want the light on or off? It's getting kind of late, he said, pausing by the light switch at the door. Can you bring Daisy in first? 2 seconds later, he came back with Daisy dangling in his arms and he laid her down next to me on the bed. Good night, sweetheart, he said, kissing my forehead. He kissed Daisy on her forehead, too. Good night, girlie. Sweet dreams. Once, I got up in the middle of the night because I was thirsty, and I saw Mom standing outside Augie's room. Her hand was on the doorknob. Her forehead was leaning on the door, which was kind of open. She wasn't going in his room or stepping out, just standing right outside the door, as if she was listening to the sound of his breathing as he slept. The hallway lights were out. The only thing illuminating her was the blue nightlight in August's bedroom. She looked ghost-like standing there, or maybe I should say angelic. I tried to walk back into my room without disturbing her, but she heard me, and she walked over to me. Is Augie okay? I asked. I knew that sometimes he would wake up choking on his own saliva if he accidentally turned over on his back. Oh, he's fine, she said, wrapping her arms around me. She walked me back into my room, pulled the covers over me, and kissed me goodnight. She never explained what she was doing outside his door, and I never asked. I wonder how many nights she stood outside his door, and I wonder if she's ever stood outside of my door like that. All right, I'm going to read one more chapter for you. Can you pick me up from school today? I said the next morning, smearing some cream cheese on my bagel. Mom was making August lunch. American cheese on whole wheat bread, soft enough for Augie to eat, while August sat eating oatmeal at the table. Dad was getting ready to go to work. Now that I was in high school, the new school routine was going to be that Dad and I would take the subway together in the morning, which meant his having to leave 15 minutes earlier than usual, and then I'd get off at my stop and he'd keep going. And Mom was going to pick me up after school in the car. I was going to call Miranda's mother to see if she could just drive you home again, Mom answered. No, Mom, I said quickly. You pick me up or I'll just take the subway. You know I don't want you to take the subway by yourself yet, she answered. By the way, a subway, friends, is not the sandwich restaurant. It's actually trains that are underground or above ground in parts of New York that take people from places. It's not a sandwich. Mom, I'm 15. Everybody my age takes the subway by themselves. She can take the subway home, said Dad from the other room, adjusting his tie as he stepped into the kitchen. Why can't Miranda's mother just pick her up again? Mom argued with him. She's old enough to take the subway by herself, Dad insisted. Mom looked at both of us. Is something going on? She didn't address her question to either one of us in particular. You would know if you had come back to check on me, I said spitefully, like you said you would. Oh, God, Via, said Mom, remembering how she had completely dished me last night. She put down the knife she was using to cut Augie's grapes in half, still a choking hazard for him because of the size of his palate. I'm so sorry, I fell asleep in Augie's room, and by the time I woke up, I know, I nodded. Mom came over and put her hands on my cheeks and lifted my face to look at her. I'm really, really sorry, she whispered. I could tell she was. It's okay, I said. Via, Mom, it's fine. This time I meant it. She looked so genuinely sorry, I just wanted to let her off the hook. She kissed and hugged me and then returned to the grapes. So is something going on with Miranda? She asked. Just that she's acting like a complete jerk, I said. Miranda's not a jerk, Augie quickly chimed in. She can be, I yelled. Believe me. Okay then, all right, I'll pick you up, no problem, Mom said, decisively sweeping the half grapes into a snack bag with the side of her knife. That was the plan all along anyway. I'll pick Augie up from school in the car and then we'll pick you up. We'll probably get there about 3:45. No, I said firmly, before she'd even finished. Isabel, she can take the subway, said Dad impatiently. She's a big girl now. She's reading War and Peace. What does War and Peace have to do with anything? Answered Mom, clearly annoyed. It means you don't have to pick her up in the car like she's a little girl, he said sternly. Via, are you ready to go? Get your bag and let's go. I'm ready, I said, pulling on my backpack. Bye, Mom. Bye, Augie. I kissed them both quickly and headed toward the door. Do you even have a Metro card? Mom said after me. Of course she has a Metro card, answered Dad, fully exasperated. Yeesh, Mama, stop worrying so much. Bye, he said, kissing her on the cheek. Bye, big boy, he said to August, kissing him on the top of the head. I'm proud of you. Have a good day. Bye, Daddy, you too. Dad and I jogged down the stoop stairs and headed down the block. Call me after school before you get on the subway, Mom yelled at me from the window. I didn't even turn around but waved my hand at her, and so she'd know that I heard her. Dad did turn around, walking backwards for a few steps. War and peace, Isabel, he called out, smiling as he pointed at me. War and peace. So it looks like Via is starting to become a little more independent from her family. Man, I wonder how that feels. But just know, friends, that when your friends are doing something that they are not doing with you, it's not okay to call them a jerk. Sometimes people fall out of friendships or they kind of stray away. It's not a reason to call your friend a name. But I want you to think, how do you think Via feels now that her two best friends in the whole wide world aren't as close with her anymore? And what do you think she's going to do about it? I will probably talk to you guys a little bit more about this tomorrow. Have a good day.